Well, Mike, let me tell you, buddy.
I was scrambling around looking for my USA flag. There you go,
gonna
Captain
gonna
America.
do, gonna do the Hulk Hogan. Let me tell you something. The WPA ought to send a
Flowers.
nice
Yeah.
flowers and a big fat check over to Matchroom, because this would have lingered for at least another probably like 4 or 5 more days at a minimum of just
Yes.
like heavy, just
Well, I don't know
relentless
about you, but I'm not going to let up on it.
ruthlessness, and
We're just gonna have to,
instead
we're gonna have to do two shows a day. One team, one Moscone, one WPA.
she let him off the hook, Mike. She let him completely off the hook. I'm disappointed, but I'm excited. I've got a lot of emotions going on. There's big news this morning. In case you guys have been sleeping under a rock, which most of you, if you're following the page, you have not. You're very aware of the fact that Fedor was announced for Team USA. So, Mike, let's do the reaction, buddy.
Well, the reaction is, confused. I mean, I'm
Fair.
stuck between, you know, shocked and happy and confused, and there's just so many different angles to it. Do I love that Fedor's getting a chance to play? Yes. Do I love that he loves being in the USA and wants to be all about the USA? That he's owning being a USA person, a resident, a citizen. If he get once he gets the chance, I buy into all that, and I like that. I think the kid's sincere about that. Listen, he's
But love
jumping
him being
ship.
here, you mean?
I love him being here, and I love that he loves being here, and I love that he's willing to play for Team USA because he plays for Team Europe. He's got 40,000 pretty much in the bank, right
What are
now.
the payouts this year, Mike? Is it 30 and 40?
It's 40 and 20.
40 and
It
20.
was
Okay.
30 and 15, so it's 40 and 20. So he's risking a $20,000 pay cut. We know Federer loves his money. So we know that. So so for
Oh
him
man,
for him to
put it
roll the
all out
dice
there, Mike.
for him to roll the dice, I'm not saying he's cheap. I'm just saying that this guy's he's about building
No,
up
I'm
money,
not saying it's
and
cheap.
I love that about him too. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really interesting play by Matchroom. Obviously, all the machinations behind it and how this makes sense or whatever, that's a completely different topic.
Well, I share a lot of the same feelings as you. First of all, I'm happy for the kid. We
Yeah,
know he's gotten the short end of the stick for a number of times, especially last year, like in particular. Where we've never bought into this idea that it was on, or at least I'll take that back. I've never bought into this idea that it was never on Alex as to why Federer didn't get in last year, but I also understood like the optics of it from a much bigger perspective, and so for him to be here and look, one thing that the Europeans love doing was just letting us know that yeah, he's there, but he's not one of yours, he's one of ours. And
right.
so to have this kind of 12th hour, 11th hour twist kind of come out of nowhere is great, because there's drama. And let's just be real, the pool world is very vanilla, you know like, I mean, look at you, Mike. You don't get
My
more
God.
you don't get
You're making fun of my button-down collar, dude. I mean, shit.
yes.
You gotta
No, I mean, it's
respect your job, son.
I love the little twists and the little drama whenever you can. It's at the expense of others, though, and so
It is.
um
It is. And a couple of the others have chimed in, and um, you know, they're taking it like men.
well, but what else are they going to say, Mike? How I mean, they're not going to come out publicly and maybe say what they might truly feel.
What, you don't? Pool players aren't going to come out and say what they truly feel? Are you kidding me?
Not in this regard, though. I don't believe so. I think everyone will say the right things, and everyone will be. Don't get me wrong.
Well,
Listen, everybody knows he's an asset to the team. I don't think anyone on earth can argue that part of it, right? Like,
no.
nobody's gonna say he's not a plus one, leveling up for Team USA. That's not the argument here at all for any of these other players.
Yeah, no, it's yeah.
Well, but he is going to be playing for Team USA, second
Yes.
automatic pick alongside of Sky, and I guess we both expect SVB
Shane's
to
the
be.
third best American player. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh man, how much on tilt are you? Because you were just you were 1A 1B for the longest time. Now he may not even be 1C, Mike. Right now, he might not even be. Not take that back. As a matter of fact, Shane just got pushed down two rungs in the last 5 hours or so.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. No, it's just it's weird. It's interesting. The way it went about, you know, the way it all went down was a little bit weird. Well, it's a lot weird. But this, when you look at it from a patriotic standpoint, I mean, is there anything more? Give
let's
us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. Is there anything more,
look. I
American
don't. This is
Statue of
what I
Liberty
don't get,
esque
Mike.
than
Look, this is what I don't get about some of these American fans, right? Like for the life of me, I don't understand. Like, look, for me, if I'm a fan of something, right? Like I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. You know what I mean? I wear it, I eat it, I sleep it, I breathe it. I don't want a fucking handout. I want to go and beat
yeah,
those guys.
yeah,
You
no, no,
know?
no doubt about that. So, was this move? I mean, it depends on how you view this. Was this move 100% about trying to even the playing field, or
Or
was this move, partially accommodating a guy who I think Fedor wants to play for the U.S. I think he genuinely wanted to play for the U.S. So, they didn't like drag him over here kicking and screaming. He had the number 2 spot on Europe locked down. So from that standpoint,
but
I
you don't
don't
think
look
he
I
thinks
don't look
he's
at it as
you
a
don't think he thinks
handout.
he's stealing on Team Europe? You
That's I
think that
do
that
I do think he was stealing on Team Europe. He goes on Team Europe. He's almost guaranteed 40 grand, right?
yeah.
So him, I think it was his idea. He wanted to play for the U.S. So I don't look at it as a handout. I don't look at Matchroom going to him and saying, "Listen, we got to make USA better. Would you consider playing for US this year?" I don't think that's the way it went down. I think it was more likely that it went down. It's like, I want to play for Team USA. Can that happen? And if that's the way it went down, I feel a lot different about it as than a handout.
Well, I guess. And listen, I don't care. I bet on Team Europe every year possible. I'd bet on them in June if I could. If they had a Mosconi Cup in June.
Right.
But for me, it's when I think about the Mosconi Cup and I think about all the players involved. Like it really just makes me. After seeing this whole thing this morning, it just makes me appreciate what they did in what was it, like 17 and 18.
Oh,
That
18
that
and 19. Yeah.
18 and 19, just
Yeah.
that much more. You
Yeah,
know,
no doubt about it.
uh,
And I'm sure that there's some American players who are like, we'd like to go in there with that underdog, all American born team
yeah,
and beat them.
yeah.
That's what they would like to do more than anything. So I get that part of it. But I think that this is it is what it is. They've got a new partner going
Oh, yeah,
forward.
he
It's
already put
interesting
on the
what
shirt.
I do want to mention what Jim Telfer mentions. This move also does it solve a political problem? Possibly, possibly. Was there pressure at Matchroom from somebody, who knows who, to not include a Russian on the European team? Was there pressure there? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It didn't sound like that was the issue last year. So why would it all of a
Mike,
sudden be an issue this year?
your head's under a rock if you think that wasn't an issue last year, Mike. I hate to wake you up from your nap there, pal, but that's a million percent an issue last year.
Well, I mean, yeah, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, it
You
was an issue
know,
last year, but was it an issue, um, political issue, like someone telling Matchroom he can't play, or was Matchroom saying we don't know whether this is a good thing to do or not?
Oh yeah, yeah,
You
of
know,
course. Yeah.
and you know the whole argument. You know, he didn't even play in any matchroom events all year. Why do we? Why would we consider him? Whatever. So you know, it's I don't know. That doesn't the political part of it. It solves a problem for them. They don't have to fade any of it. I don't know how big a problem that actually was. Is what I'm saying.
Well, I yeah, I mean it's water under the bridge at this point because it's already it he's playing for Team USA now, right? The announcement's been made. He'll be there this December in the UK, Mike, which is going to be a whole other twist and turn because then I mean, look, as great as Fedor is, Fedor's never played in front of that kind of crowd, and I guarantee you the likes of Jim Telfer and those other European gentlemen who like to have a few
Softball throwers.
they're gonna wind up probably needling the kid about as much as possible and trying to get in his head throughout the entire event. Mike, I don't even know the kind of witty creations they're gonna come up with to be saying while the kid's getting down on the ball. You know,
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
it opens up Pandora's box. I'm seeing a lot of questions in here, Mike, regarding like the likes of Jason and Mika and
Yeah.
Thorsten,
No,
and
that's
basically they want to have a Europe versus Europe Moscone Cup is what I'm hearing. You know,
Yeah, no, you know, this whole thing, the one that pops up the most often is Jason Shaw. You know, I think Fedor went to Matchroom and said, I would love to play for the USA. That is never going to happen for Jason Shaw. Sorry. Nobody loves beating the USA more than Jason Shaw. Nobody loves representing Team Europe more than Jason Shaw. Jason Shaw is not going to say, oh, I want to play on Team USA now too. That I don't see happening at all. As far as Mika or Torsten or someone like that, um, you know, that that I'm not going there.
but why wouldn't you though? Because the Pandora's box has already been opened, Mike. You know, it, they've already just kind of opened up that possibility, and so I guess at what point does that stop? You know, because
Well, you know
why
that
wouldn't
what
if you're Mika why wouldn't if you're Mika want it? You don't think Mika would be the fifth best player on a potential Team USA team, and why wouldn't he want to go pick up an extra 20,000 to finish off his year?
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
let
and
him.
he wouldn't have an opportunity to make the Mosconi Cup on the European side. I mean, unless something spectacular happened, but where he would have a much more realistic chance to make the American team.
Well, then let's get into this newly adopted rule that Matchroom wrote up on October 1st, conveniently, as to what
Yeah,
what
listen,
determines eligibility.
I can type September 1 on a piece of paper too if y'all want to go there. You know,
Um, so it says once a player determines which nation to represent, he cannot change representation for 5 years. Okay, so for me, what that means is that if Jason plays, now this is since now we're after October 1st. Okay,
okay.
if Jason plays for Team Europe this year, he would have to take 5 years off before playing for Team USA, right?
Wait. Oh, so you mean going forward then?
Yes, it's ruling effective October 1st. So
Wait. So
effective
okay,
going
say
forward,
that line
if
again. Then let me understand this.
once a player determines which nation to represent. Okay,
Mhm.
so after October 1st, Jason is making the decision to represent Europe. He cannot change representation for a period of 5 years.
Hmm. So that means the earliest he could switch would be in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
Is that
Now,
what you're
I
saying?
don't know if that means that he can't play for Team Europe for the next 4 years as well.
I don't take that from it, Mike. That's not what I'm reading from it.
See, that's the way it is in some international sports. You just can't say, okay, 5 years from now, I'm going to play for you and play for the
But
other
they don't have
team
to.
for the
It's
next
an
4 years.
exhibition though. They don't have to follow like IOC guidelines or
Well,
anything
it's
like
no.
that.
This is a World Professional Nine Ball Pool Corporation event, right? And that's what this stipulation is all about. Anything that so representing your country doesn't just mean Mosconi Cup. Representing your country means the World Championship, you know, World Cup of Pool, World Pool
Let's talk
Masters,
about the
whatever,
World Cup
right?
of Pool. Let's talk about the World Cup of Pool, Mike. Because
Who
does
gets
this
left
open up?
out?
Does that
Who
open?
gets left out?
There's going to be a lot of real salty Americans, depending on what side of the country you're on, Mike. Because
Yeah, no.
if Federer is eligible for the World Cup of pool, you got to imagine him to be a lock, Mike. You got to imagine him to be, A1, right?
Okay,
So who's that?
that's one instance in which I think Matchroom would do well to say, Sky and Shane, you're America, you play.
I tell you, listen, you know how you solve this, Mike? I got the perfect answer.
A and B.
It just came to me right now. Listen, you bring the Moscone Cup over here,
Yeah, and you have an
right?
A team
And
and a
then
B team.
and then you have Shane and Sky on one team, Jason and Federer representing USAB. Come on, come on now, Mike. You got to tell me that doesn't sound box office, man. Come on. I look. It we woke up. We heard about this a few days ago, and we're just as shocked as everyone else, um, learning about the possibility of this happening. I think still a lot of questions were up in the air over the last week or so, because we're starting to be rumblings online of why haven't they announced the second automatic picks. I
Well,
was
you knew it had to be. You
I
knew it
was
had to be
posting.
something to do with Fedor. You knew it had to be something to do with Fedor because there was no questions about Shane, right?
Yeah, you knew he was going to be there regardless, but it's like, what's going on where, like, the Moscone Cup isn't something that Matchroom sleeps on. You know, when it comes to Moscone Cup announcements, now it's right away, right? As soon as they make the team, they got photos ready, they got interviews ready, they got everything ready to hit the social medias. It's just a buzz from here out. So the fact that there was a week in between just started having everyone thinking, okay, well, what's the holdup here? You know?
Well, the email response was that they were working on feverishly on Vietnam, and that we all knew that was not the case. That there was something going on behind the scenes. I'm just really curious as to when this initially popped up.
What do you
How
mean?
long has this in the works?
Um,
I mean, I don't know.
what's the over under your lane here, buddy?
I would say that it popped up in the past month.
Well, they knew that he was in a pretty good position
Right.
to make it in
Right.
on ranking points as an automatic, right? But then if it's been a month, why would you continue to have him included in European rankings after events were updated? Like something shifted, and something shifted recently, because if that were the case,
Yeah.
you don't continue to push, oh well, he's got this kind of cushion.
Well, I'm
He's
sure
this
once they
far
came
ahead.
up with the idea, there was a lot of things they had to iron out. They didn't even come up with their rationalization until August 1st. Their official, you know, rationalization until October 1st.
Hmm. If you believe that, Mike, I got a bridge to sell you, buddy. All right.
What, this thing that they wrote that's effective October 1st? You think they wrote that in like July?
No, I think they might. When did that become public?
Today. So,
There you
and
go.
it says effective October 1st. So it was written in the
Uh,
past week.
look at that. There you go. Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah. Uh, all right. So let's talk about what this does to Team USA's chances. Now you got David in as an automatic, which, by the way, I'm sure David is very thankful to make
Yeah.
Team Europe.
Yeah,
He's alongside his partner.
He's buying Fedor dinner tonight.
Oh, for sure, for sure. You better go
because
take that
because he
the
was not a
nicest high rise,
he
the
was not
spot
a
you can
lock for
find
the
in
third spot.
Vietnam.
He was not a
Yeah.
lock for the third spot.
And if he doesn't get the third, then the argument becomes: is he making the team on a wild card, Mike?
No, the argument would probably have been no. So
That's what
yeah,
I would say.
David's ponying up tonight.
Yeah, no, for sure. David's buying. And that's funny because Fedor just picked up an extra whatever it was 25,000 out there in Vietnam. Which,
Yeah,
congratulations, by the way, on a great event.
yeah. So what it
Um,
does for Team USA is you trot out your 1, 2, 3, and it's Shane, Sky, and Fedor. Man, that looks like a pretty decent team all of a sudden, doesn't it?
Pretty decent team, I'd say. I'd have to agree
I mean,
with you,
does it
Mike.
make them a
Now,
favorite? No, but if you're number 4 and 5, you're playing a little looser, a little freer because you got a pretty good 1, 2, 3 ahead of you.
so who are you thinking as number four then, Mike? Are we still going in then from for Tyler getting that first captain spot?
Um, Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, were we assuming that Shane Wolford was going to get the third automatic?
I was, I
Okay,
was
so
assuming
you
that.
got to assume that he's going to get the first wild card spot.
Is are you still as confident in
As
saying that?
bullish on that?
Because
Yeah,
now
I think so
now he's
because
not an automatic.
right, he's not an automatic. I think that I mean, the betting favorites have to be Shane Wolford and Tyler. Got to be.
Do you think that they would, if whoever was sitting in that third spot, you think they owe it to him?
Well, I would have liked to have seen. Ideally, I think I would have liked to have seen Fedor get a wild card spot, be announced as a wild card spot, and let those guys keep playing for the third automatic.
Because it would have kept everything par for the course
It would have kept everything, more
on
structured.
rankings.
Par for the course. It would have the guys who are in Vietnam would still be playing for an automatic spot. That to me would have made the most sense. Would have been the most equitable for the other American players. But that's not the case, so it's no sense in talking about it,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
So we're getting back to wild card, spots. You possibly, feel like you owe the number 4 guy that spot. So I would say whoever does, comes out of this event as the number 4 point guy, I think you really do owe him that 4 spot, and then you pick from there.
Yeah, I would have to agree because if not, then you're really going to be in a it's going to be hard to justify that, if you're one of those players. And in a time right now where there's already a lot of trust issues going on, I think the last thing you want to do is have something like that come up on the American side of things,
Yeah.
because you may have some players who feel shorted, or I'm chasing this carrot for nothing just to have something thrown in at the
Well,
last
that's
minute.
why that's why I say if you give the number 4 spot automatically to the number 4 point guy, then you essentially made Federer a wild card pick,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that to me makes the most sense. And then number 5, then you're rolling out on whoever's left. So it's if Jeremy, you're in a better spot. Um, so
And if you're Ralph,
if you're Ralph Eckert, you still got to like your chances. I mean, so number 3 opens wide up. Number 3, you know who probably loved this announcement more than anybody? Mario He.
yeah. Hey, the
you know,
panda. There's worse picks you can have, Mike.
there's
I'm
the
liking
Panda's
that.
got it. He makes or Max Lechner or someone like that makes a deep run. Number 3 spot for Europe automatic spot is wide open.
Well, let's
Uh,
see here. He sits, and I know it hadn't been updated, but he sits at 33, where Clenny still sits at 37. So
yeah. So
if
Eklund
they were looking,
is yeah.
so then him going and playing in Vietnam, then you're gonna have David coming as your two, Clenty, if everything stays as it is, if everything stays as it is, then you would have Clenty coming in as number three, and then what, Mike? We both expect Jason to be there, so that's going to be your four. But are
And
you
are
as
we going to talk
confident?
about Joshy?
What's what we talked about him a little bit yesterday, Mike? Do you think? Do you think Josh is going to make this year's team then? Because now, if you look at
It depends on how it all depends on how persona non grata he is by his WPA
if
stance.
okay, that's fair. Before we get there, though, if you take all the bullshit out, all the WPA stuff out, and you just look at the year that he's had, right? Is Josh coming in as your wild card pick if you're the captain of Team Europe?
What? Of course he is. You're going to keep Federer. You're going to keep Josh Filler off your team without a really good reason.
I mean, a really good reason, Mike. I
Well,
mean, a really,
he's starting to give him a pretty.
really
He's starting to give him a pretty good reason, isn't he?
well. Silence is deafening, Mike. And and also where you're pretty much showing where your loyalty and allegiance stands. If I'm looking at it, you know,
Yeah, I would love to hear Josh speak out about it. I mean, he gave the I don't know what I'm going to do line to Alex. I think he knows what he's going to do. I just think he's waiting till March to make to make it official. But I would be shocked if Josh
If
Filler
he
isn't.
doesn't, if he doesn't get picked for the European Mosconi Cup team, does that just lock it up for you? Does that it's a done deal?
Well, that would mean to me that he has told somebody in the inner sanctum that he's playing WPA next year and sticking with the German nationals, the German Federation. That's
But
what it would mean. They,
why would you give them that? Why would you tell them that for? Why wouldn't you just stay quiet and
because,
then
well,
just
yeah,
kind of see what happens?
you could, but if I'm them, I'm going to say, listen, I want an answer. Who are you playing with next year? I won't tell anybody, but who are
But
you playing with next
I
year?
could say whatever the hell I wanted to, Mike. I would
You
say, oh
could,
yeah,
you could
I'm
say,
going with you. I pick up my 40,000 on the way. Hey, don't call me. I'll call you.
right,
You
and
know.
then I like your chances of getting, any kind of invitation anywhere in the world over the next 20 years. So I
But
don't
you're
know that
already
he would.
expecting that though. You're already expecting that. If you're going to
Well,
play in WP, if
you
you
don't want
know,
to burn a bridge forever if you don't have to.
well,
I mean,
yeah.
you could. There's a lot of ways to play it. There's
But
a lot of ways you could. He's a
Josh
big
is too big
draw.
a fish. He's a too big a fish, Mike. And
He's
that
huge. He's a huge fish. But do you want him this year if he's going to snub you in a month after he takes his $40,000 check?
look, I tell you what. After this morning's announcement, I think we ought to stop saying $40,000 check because when I start thinking about the team, when I start when I start thinking about
You
the team
haven't
that's
bet
going to
on
be out
Team
there for
USA. You haven't bet on Team USA since Mosconi was
no,
alive.
listen, I wish for the life of me, I wish I would have gotten like +5 back in June. +5 going to 11 if I'm taking Team USA. I wish I would have snagged up that bet in June. Listen, I don't think it's an automatic that the Europeans are going to win this event because you're going to have Sky, who's about as cold blooded and clutch as anybody in Mosconi Cup history, right? You're going to have Shane, who for me is going to be playing super loose, knowing that he's got two A1 anchors in his back pocket. And then you have a guy who probably halfway through last year was the MVP of the Mosconi Cup team, and Tyler playing with you as well. That's a pretty strong four
Yeah,
going up against
a team that
uh,
may not have filler and that doesn't have Gorst.
a one armed Kachi, right? A one a one armed
He can
Kachi.
still kill you with that one arm, so be careful, son.
Both of us. He'll grab both of us around the neck at the same time. At the same time, you know. So I don't think that the Europeans are a lock anymore, like they were about what time is it now? Let's see
They're
here.
still
It's
a
10 o'clock.
favorite. They're still a favorite.
I don't think so, Mike. I don't think they're
Yes,
a
because
favorite.
their
I
four and
don't.
five are going to be stronger than our 4 and 5.
Their
Sorry,
five is going to be
their
stronger. Their
four and
five.
five to me are still going to be stronger than our 4 and 5.
So you're saying well, look, Tyler's been stepping up against big names, and if you have Mario He going up there against Tyler Steyer, where's the bet window at, Mike? Because if I'm an American fan, I'm betting that the Panda is going to show that he can shake a little bit, you know. And I
Man,
love Mario. I love Mario. I do. I love seeing him play, and I think he can win a big one. But he can. We know, Mike. We've seen it. You know, pick the event, Predator event. Pick a matchroom event in the semifinals against Alabama. We've seen it, Mike, and that is nothing like it's going to be out there this December, Mike. Nothing,
oh, there's going to be a lot of
you
heat
know.
for sure, for
And
sure.
especially when you have this Fedor news just kind of dropped in there in the middle of it, it's going to make all those European fans want to needle the Americans that much more, and it's going to make these Americans, I think, more than ever, have expectations that maybe they didn't have a few years ago, Mike.
Well,
You
it's
know.
certainly gonna, it certainly makes things more interesting right now, and builds hope right now. Once you get through the, Americans that got, gut punched in Vietnam, once you get through all that and you start looking at your team, yeah, you've got a lot more hope this year. There's no doubt about it, and it's a lot of fun thinking that this is not a one and done thing. I mean, I think Federer's here for the long haul. Well, just by accepting this, he can't change for 5 years, so we're good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we got him for at least five. For at least five.
but yeah, who knows? I mean, we're really speculating on Josh. I would love to see Josh play in Mosconi because that's that's who Josh is. Josh is, what you watch Mosconi for. Josh
Maybe
and
he forgot.
Jason.
Maybe he forgot where he came from. Then, Mike, if that's
Well,
what Josh is, maybe he
possibly, but
forgot where.
I'm not trying to get in his head, trying to think what he's thinking through. But you know, as a fan, Josh is as Mosconi comes. Him and Jason,
The
Sky,
epitome
those
of it.
are
The
those are
epitome of it.
three those are three blueprint Mosconi guys. So would I love to see him play for sure? Now, could there be ramifications with him, playing China, playing Qatar, and skipping Hanoi? It's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, if that something like that happened, and I think it's probably still probably more than 50% chance to me that somehow or another he plays Mosconi, but it's not 80 or 90%. But if he doesn't play Mosconi and Fedor doesn't play Mosconi for Team Europe, then we're going to find out, about all those Europeans who said we could take our 10th through 15th guys and beat you. We could take our 20th through
All
25th guys and beat you. Then we're going to find out about that
big chest,
because,
Mike. Big chest.
yeah,
We're gonna, yeah. What's
it changes the dynamic a lot. Now we got to see, if they're that deep and they come and beat you with
but
that with that team, yeah, good on them.
it's different because intangibles make a big difference in Mosconi Cup. It's not just on rankings, Mike, because certain things you just can't account for, and it's how guys handle pressure. Josh, like you said, is the epitome of that. Josh
Yeah,
takes that moment, he breathes it, and he just
I
delivers
love, and
in
who
big
doesn't love
spots.
watching him play? I mean, you may
Oh
hate
God,
you may hate him, but you love watching it to
it's
see.
beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's great
because
stuff.
it's not just like what he does, but it's in those moments that he does them. And we saw that shot last year where the cue ball is frozen to the rail and he hits that ball, spears it in with inside English, and comes three rails around for like the nuts perfect
You're
shape.
still
You know what I
melting
mean?
down over that, aren't you?
Because that was the sickest shot, Mike. But there's not a lot of players who've got that kind of like cold bloodedness in them like that dude does. And if
Yeah.
you don't have, listen, for as great as Francisco is and as seasoned as David is, and we know the year that Clenny had before his injury, right? You're playing a lot different if you don't got a killer, waiting with you in that in
Yeah,
that bullpen.
yeah,
You
no
do.
doubt
You
about
play a
it.
lot. Ask Shane Van Boning that question
Yeah,
because for years he played a lot different, knowing that he didn't have anybody by
anybody
his
behind
side.
him. Yeah, right.
Completely by himself, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So it does matter. And it's going to matter on that stage. And it's going to matter with all this drama leading into December because now, listen, we talk Mosconi Cup all year long, Mike, and me and you talk about all the hypotheticals and talk out of our ass for, 9 months out of the year, you know? And now the biggest curveball at the last minute just got tossed in there, and it's going to make a lot of European fans really want to show out. It's going to make the European players really want to deliver. And now there's expectations for the Americans. I cannot wait for this December, Mike, now more than ever.
yeah,
I mean, it can't come soon enough.
yeah. No, it's gonna be a ton of fun. Uh, it's gonna be yeah. It's gonna be a few conversations about this between now and December.
At
So if you
least.
know if you want yeah if you wanted to set up a nice storytelling narrative that you could write out for 2 months, this was it.
Well, the drama's not over yet because I feel like well, look, there's more. There's more news coming sooner than later. We will have a third automatic pick. I want to say it's after the Asian Open. I could be wrong,
Yes,
Mike, but I'm
correct.
pretty sure.
Hanoi Open.
Oh, excuse
The
me.
Hanoi Open.
Excuse me.
Yeah, they were not
Excuse
allowed
me.
to use the word Asian.
Oh well. I mean, listen. If anyone's on more banned list than I am, please let me know because I'm especially as of late. No, the Hanoi Open. They're supposed to be in the next automatic pick. Clenny's sitting in a real good spot. We know SVB is going to be that pick for Team
and then
USA.
and then in theory, JJ said that he was supposed to have the wild card picks in a week later, week to 10 days later. So
After
after
the
after Hanoi.
well, but they're going and playing Wolves then, right? So I'm surprised to hear that then because you would think they would at least be after that event.
Um,
I mean, listen, they're not going to wait anything on the Predator event, but um,
no,
the
yeah.
teams. But yeah,
What are
it's
the
going to
dates
make.
on Wolf's Den?
In the next few weeks. I think I want to say right after Austria. So I mean, I could be wrong, but I want to say it's somewhere around then. Um, Look, this makes the already exciting Mosconi conversation just that much better. But it's and also I kind of want to circle back to what we started the conversation with, Mike, and it's kind of at the expense of some of these players who were fighting for 3, 4, and 5. So where do these players go from here? Do you think? And I'll ask you, just be as honest as you can be. Do you think a lot of these players would be there in Vietnam right now had maybe this news broke after the U.S. Open? Do you think they're hopping on a flight to Hanoi?
Um, it's I would say maybe a couple of them probably wouldn't. And going forward, how does this change? How does this change their buy-in going forward? Because the top three spots are going to be pretty much
Gone,
locked up,
gone every
right?
year,
So they're going to be
gone.
gone every year.
Yeah,
So if you want to be on the Mosconi Cup, you're still going to have to get out there and prove yourself. Jeremy has said that a million times. You got to get out there. You got to get into Greece. You got to show me that you're willing to go to those international events and play the top players over and over and over again. So if you want to be one of those 4 or 5 wild card picks, then yeah, you're going to still have to get out there and play. You're going to still have to go to Germany. You're still going to have to go to Spain. You might still have to go to Vietnam if a lot's riding on that last event of the year. So yeah, I think these guys, if they really want to play Mosconi Cup, they still got to go, because there's one thing about it. The top 3 spots are locked up, right?
yeah, yeah. Sky, Shane, and
Which
Federer for the
makes
next 5 years. Sky, Shane,
okay.
and Federer
So
are
so not that's not that's not the case in Europe, but the wild card picks in Europe are kind of locks. Jason and Filler, right? You all year we've been saying that. But in the U.S., it's completely the opposite. The top 3 spots will be locked up. Those 2 wild cards wide open, wide open. So anybody who thinks, so it's basically those. You're kind of almost looking at those last 2 spots as points events, anyways. If you want to be a that number 4 or number 5 wild card pick, you better be number 4 or 5 on the points. So yeah, you're going to have to chase points just as you would if you were looking for 1, 2, or 3.
yeah. I don't. I think that everybody will say everybody will say all the right things publicly, but I feel like a lot of players are left with a bitter taste in their mouths privately. And
Uh,
I'm not speaking on anyone's behalf.
yeah,
Um, but just from the American standpoint, don't get me wrong, they're excited to be in a much better competitive position than what they were yesterday. But these players take pride in like 5 Americans going out there and playing for Team USA.
no doubt
You
about
know,
it.
whether they go out there and get fed to the wolves or otherwise. You
Yeah,
know,
it's what made Team USA special in Mosconi, because Team Europe is, there were players who couldn't even talk to each other because of the language barrier. Knew nothing about each other's countries, cultures, whatever. In the U.S., it was blood brothers. But I don't think this completely turns that upside down. I mean, they'll get over it. It's
no, of
still
course,
an American. It's
because
still an American team.
they know they're in a better place competitively, and at the end of the day, they want to win 40,000.
I'll
You
tell you what,
know,
if I'm the other 4 guys in the team, day one, I'm making Fedor sing the Star Spangled Banner to see if he knows the words.
man, putting them out there, right? Put them to the test, the
Put
real
him to
test.
the test. It's like hazing.
Yeah, easy, Mike. This culture these days, Mike, they're too soft for a little hazing, buddy. Um, no, I see. Is a U.S. Open and Mosconi Cup exempt from the WPA ban? Yeah,
No,
there's plenty to.
no.
Mosconi Cup wasn't a WPA sanctioned event as it was over the last few years. Either way, just to let you guys know, so we did reach out to WPA. Haven't heard back. Reaching out to a certain member of the BCA as well to see what effect the most recent news will have on the home front. So we're looking forward to that. I don't think a lot of these guys are going to be returning my call, Mike. I don't. I'm gonna be just if I'm being, I might be the
You know
sixth
what?
pick.
If
The sixth
if
call they return on top five on rankings.
Jim, it's just, if you want to show you got some stones, you call you back.
Yeah, well. I mean, look, it's been a lot of drama, man, over the last few days. Like it's been, eh, tilting over. You
News
know what I mean?
cycles on tilt. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
like this
Well,
is
I'm
what we
pissed
live
because I
for.
wake up at 5 a.m. or no, I wake up like at 7:30, whatever it was, and I look at a message on my phone uh, from Matchroom, and it's, "Hey, the news is dropping in 20 minutes," and this was like 3 hours ago. So I'm like,
Well,
I
I told
listen.
you,
A
I told
heads up
you,
the night before would have been a little better, because I
news
would
doesn't
have.
sleep. News doesn't sleep. Only reporters.
Yeah, that's true. Especially with everything going on in Vietnam. I didn't listen. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of the matches today. I'll be honest with you. I watched a little bit of the finals where Fedor was beating Michael. Which, by the way, congratulations to Fedor. We touched base on a little bit,
Yeah,
but boy, what a heater that this guy's on! Right, like he's just hitting on every single cylinder that you can ask for. The argument of he's not performing on this stage versus that stage, I think that's out the window. Making it to a final and losing to Ko Ping Chung, there's nothing to hang your head down about that, Mike.
yeah,
You know, and now you're starting to show that it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. Everything that we thought you were, or everything we thought you could be, is here. And now everybody's seen it. Everyone's on notice. There's no barriers holding you back. You're playing any and everything, and now you're just showing domination. And
yeah,
so I can't wait for the Hanoi Open to see if he can follow that up. He's going to be the betting favorite going into it. If Ko Ping Chung comes back over to Vietnam from Qatar, which I believe he is there, then boy, Mike, I tell you what I wouldn't give to see another rematch of that final.
yeah,
Because it was pretty compelling, and especially given how Ko Ping Chung is showing his form lately, following that up in Qatar as well.
yeah. Well,
So
he's hitting the ball good.
yeah, without a doubt, still left a little bitter given the fact that Josh isn't going to be there, but it's going to be a great week in pool and even thereafter. We got the Hanoi Open coming up. More news coming out as far as picks. I'm sure we're gonna have probably another twist or two between now and then, Mike. Um,
You think?
yeah, it's a lot, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
there's a
lot.
lot. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of fun. Uh, you know, Matchroom may have let the WPA off the hook, but I don't think we're going to.
Big time. They let the WPA off the hook. Well,
But
listen,
here's
if
the
you know
thing.
me,
I was
I
thinking
give.
about this morning. I reached out to a bunch of players, right? And here's where you know that what they're doing is not right for the players. The only players who have responded about definite decisions are the ones who have said, Matchroom all the way, bye bye WPA, whatever.
Right.
Not one person has written back and said, I'm with WPA all the way. A couple of people
Zero.
have said, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I got to see what's going to happen. I got to talk to my federation. None of them are like giving you the rah rah WPA thing. If they play,
How does that make you feel, Mike?
that's
Like that would make you feel like I don't know how you sleep at night. Like I wouldn't like if you don't want to be here, don't fucking be here.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
like
the only
how do you
reason
get
if they
satisfaction
play
out of that?
WPA, it's only going to be because the gun is to their head. And but the people who made that decision, they're not at the tournaments anyways, so they don't give they don't care that you're there and you're not happy. They're just keeping their federation money coming in, keeping their control, their thumbs over the power button, all that kind of stuff. That's the biggest problem for me is that
And
they're forcing people to do what they don't want to do.
I guarantee you, and I fire it all that if you start looking at how that federation money is funneled, a lot of it just gets recirculated back into their own pockets or their buddies' pockets or these shell accounts or these shell businesses like and and it's only the beginning. I feel like a lot of these players have been seeing this happen for
Yeah,
decades.
you know, I get that. I mean, it's an easy argument to make. I do think there are a lot of federations, excuse me, that do a lot of good with some of that money. I do think that there are, especially in Europe and in Asia too, they promote training, they promote youth, they promote league play, club play in their countries, things like that. They do stuff like that. So there's value. There's value there. I've always said that about the WPA. These federations that do good things help developing systems. That's why we're getting the players that we're getting out of Europe. Okay, but they've got to understand at some point when the players get to a certain, let them go, let them be adults, let them fly on their own, let them play in the pro tournaments. Don't keep your thumb over them. That to me is where my biggest issue with the federation system is.
Oh, Mike, Mike. Where do we go from here,
You
buddy?
disagree or what?
No, I don't disagree with you at all. It really it's really just frustrating,
Yeah, it is,
and
no doubt
and
about
and,
it.
and look, you we talk to players, and so we hear like, man, look, I talked to a player who had just come off a win at an event, who was in the thick of dealing with this federation WPA matchroom drama, and like to hear the like genuine just sadness
Despair.
of have
Yeah,
yeah
just yeah, just
of just
like
dealing with it, man. Like, if you
yes,
heard that conversation, and this was private and off the record, man, that's the stuff that like fires me up to keep on putting heat on these guys and keep on calling them out, because
yeah,
that's the part that just kills me, man, seeing that.
yeah.
And
When you
this
hear
is
top players saying, "I've got to go home because I've got to go to a Euro Tour event," it's one thing if you're a player who trying to, work your way up the rankings. If you're a top 10 player in the world, top 50, and you have to go home because you have to play in a Euro Tour event, otherwise your federation's going to spank you, then shame on them.
yeah, no, I agree. It's yeah, I don't know where these guys get off, to be honest, and where they have any conscience at. But anyway, we're not done with the WPA. We're not done with Moscone Cup
Not by
talk.
a
We're not
long
done.
shot, Mike. Not
No,
by a long shot.
really, Mike. Now, see, this is what it took me months to finally light some fire under your ass, Mike. I'm happy. Joey's on a plane to Dallas, I think, right now. We're probably going to go live again tonight, have more reaction and conversations, and just be discussing a whole lot more. So we appreciate all you guys for tuning in. This is probably only maybe a little past the beginning of all the big news coming, but there's a lot of news on the horizon. So make sure and keep your notifications on. We appreciate all you guys for hanging out with us this morning.